Look out, footy's back. Ba-da-da, ba-ba, ba-da-da, ba-ba-ba-ba. Footy Unfilterated. I am your host, James Clements. Very chock full of soggy sorrows this week, James Clements. Carlton. I mean, look, I'm going to get to it, but I will have it in my will that I will need the then Carlton Blues to lower me into the ground so they can let me down one more time. With me on the other side of this here screen is our main man in Amsterdam. It is everyone's favourite resident Essendon fan. Again, very low bar. It's Jez, what's cracking?
It's all happening. We're coming. We only got done by 12 points. Come on. Mate, it's been an absolute... I've been flat stick and probably stink after a couple of those days. But, it's been a busy week, mate. So I'm pretty keen just to talk some footy.
I was likewise. I actually have completely just forgotten what I did on Saturday, which is awesome. I watched a bunch of footy. I watched a bunch of basketball. There's a couple of really good basketball games on early on Saturday. And then, I don't know, I was sort of hanging out. And by the time the sort of end of that, because you got that weird Freo Richmond game in the middle, and you're like, what is happening here? It sort of finishes up with a whimper with that North Essendon game. You're like, oh, this is probably not going to get better with the Sunday games. And then it did not get better, I'll tell you that much. So the good thing is everyone can stop crying and sooking and whinging about the grand final time.
Ugh.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this in a second. We're going to wipe some blood on each other, I think. Go full-blown, like, war paint. That'd be cool. But always remember, Jez, we're all going to die at some point, so can't really stress too much, right?
Yeah, well, that's it.
Thanks. Thanks, Brad Scott. But footy is back. So on today's show, we're going to wrap up round 3 very quickly for you. Our weekly awards, do some stars, the big sort of, pressing things in the world of footy. And our round 4 preview and picks. There are some cracking games this week, so that's going to be fun. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is Footy Without the Ball. It's Footy Unfilterated.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Time that nicely right.
That is an absolute banger of a tune, I have to say.
It is. That is the Ramshackle Army, Dustin Cobwebs. You can actually go and see the Ramshackle Army play a very rare gig. I believe it's May 9, which hilariously I will not be able to go to because I'll be at Deftones.
I think I might have to make the journey in there and see our mate Gaz and do his stuff.
They are playing Scarfighter 2, which is a big night of very fun bands, including the Porkers, one of my favourite bands up from, New South Wales. I want to say Sydney, but they're also from around other places. So that's going to be a great one. I'll just swing by after Deftones. Don't worry about that. But I think it's at the Bendigo Hotel in Collingwood on that Saturday. So go check them out. Right, the biggest news, Jez, of the week was obviously everyone just sooking and moaning about the grand final time. It has to be 2:30. It's always been 2:30. Why won't they just listen to their fans? I don't know, because I want to make more money. Obviously.
Duh.
Nobody's really been able to point out how much more money they're going to make by having a night grand final. Like, there's been no sort of economic release about all this sort of stuff, right? Because they're just like, no, we'll be able to charge more for ads. And you're like, all right, that doesn't benefit anybody except for you guys. The start time is essentially a thing for the fans, right? And this is the tradition of the afternoon grand final is very dear to some. Personally, I don't care. Like, I've watched a lot of Super Bowls whilst in the States, and I'll tell you what, Jez, it does not lack anything for being a nighttime event, No. But just think about the sunshine on the MCG. It's fine. It's also very cool to see stuff happen at night. But what about if we want to go drinking after? I'm not your mum. You can go out as long as you want, right? It's fine. But what about if I want to drink during the day and have friends around? It's like, you can still do that. There is nothing stopping you from doing.
There's a little thing called before the game.
It's just like, this gives you more time to drink and hang out. And
a pre-game party.
Anyway, I'm not really.
I think the perfect would be the twilight. You started at 4, 5, maybe at that time of year, whatever You get that beautiful afternoon sun onto the ground and it fades into the lights. You finish around 7:30, 8 o'clock. Good time to go out and have a few more beers. All of a sudden, all the venues around the MCG and around us are getting late dinner bookings, drinks. Whereas if you have a night grand final, you can get pre-game, and a lot of people are more worried about getting there and watching. And then afterwards, it's like, oh shit, we can't go and get a beer because it's 11 o'clock. So I think a twilight one would be good. However, in saying that, 2:30, cool.
Yeah, I don't really care. Like, it's just,
Yeah,
that's fine. Like, leave
whatever.
this, whatever. Like, but the hand wringing, the sooking, God, it infuriates me because all you've got are a bunch of media dorks. Go, but you see, Gary, what we could do is we're going to lose ground to the NRL. It's like, oh, Jared, I don't know. You're like, oh, bloody hell. I miss Robbo sometimes, actually.
Oh, I was just about to say that. I thought that show was hard to watch with Robbo on it. It's even worse now.
You don't know what
Ugh.
you got till it's gone. Robbo's laid down
Yeah.
in a car park somewhere. Anyway, the other thing we announced.
Cheers, Robbo.
There's a story there. We did go out with him one night. He did end up in the gutter in a near.
I have heard the stories.
So Kylie has also been announced as the entertainment, and again,
Cool.
the hand wringing. I think my favorite thing each year about grand final entertainment is that people get so worked up about it. And then I usually am just like busy doing stuff and then completely forget about it and miss it anyway. And then I'm like, oh, wait, Woody's going to start. Oh, wait, has Katy Perry already been?
Yeah.
Oops. It's like, oh, no, my life did not change one
It's
iota.
the carry on, even last year when they had Snoop, who I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, it was. I actually saw like the button again. I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, it's pre-game. Oh God! And boom,
Yeah.
I caught the last half. I'm like, that was fun. I don't care.
But the stuff he did leading up to, like, I think he went to a high school musical and, showed his face there. Like, that's awesome from a guy who owes absolutely nothing to anyone. He actually went out and did, showed his face in the community, not just, turned up, took his $1,000,000 and wandered off. But the biggest one was all the carry on about, oh, bloody Kiss would have made a bloody better show. It's like, yeah, but do you know how many followers Kiss have got on socials? About 70,000. Do you know how many Snoop's got? About 70 million. There's your answer there. So, okay, you might not like Snoop. You might prefer to watch Kiss, but at the end of the day, the AFL wants to reach out to more people. And guess who's not going to do that? A bunch of 70-year-old wrinkly dudes who are still putting makeup on. Ain't going to happen.
It's exactly right. It's like, oh, we really need to corner the market in old white guys. I think we've already got that covered, AFL. You need to just maybe expand.
Well, the same argument happened with the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny. All the people carrying on about him. I thought the show was cool. Did not understand a word of it.
Doesn't
but
matter.
I thought it was cool. And the same correlation. You look at the what was it? The Donald Trump halftime show with Kid Rock that had 70,000 viewers and the 70 billion that watched Bad Bunny in the Super Bowl. Says it all.
Grow the game.
Oh, white dudes are stupid. We're not them yet, are we?
I think we are.
Damn it.
Definitely. Speaking of
what do you do?
Big dumb white dudes, Tristan Xerri, the old blood wipe on Andy McGrath's face. That was pretty weird.
Ooh, yeah.
The hand wringing was pretty funny because it's just like, I think the simplest explanation is that you did a dumb thing.
Yeah.
You just weren't thinking, Tristan Xerri. And like there's no sort of personal defect, I think, going on, apart from he might be a bit of a spud. He's I think we all expect that a little bit. So that was pretty dumb. And as it was happening, like we're watching it, it's like, oh my God, what is he? That seems dumb and weird. And he's probably going to get suspended. And he was for 3 games. So we'll talk about that again later. Dev Rob copped the game as well that was the hit on Butters, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big one.
What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, it sucks for your super coach because he'd been sort of carving it up until then.
He'd be about to go up in price too.
Yeah, I think he went absolutely.
Sorry, you'll have to watch Jim Does Supercoach to find out.
He will. It's that's the teaser. I think he did awesome those first 2 weeks. Had a bit of luck last week, but anyway. William Dersma. He had
New
the
draft pick, William Derza.
Dersa.
The Derza family.
Willem
We've
Dersa.
got a Derza at Essendon. He's definitely a Derza.
There's a lot of Ders going around. But
There's a lot of them.
Willem Dersma gets the Rising Star nom, and
Yeah.
Eagles got another win. So that was kind of fun. The other last little bit is that I do love that we're now in the cycle of the AFL going, we've changed the rules. We're now 4 weeks into a season. They're like, wait, we've had unintended consequences to our rule changes. We need to keep changing them. So we're at this part in the cycle. I call it the wheel of consequential chaos when it comes to the AFL, right? Because they just go, we're changing rules that no one asked for. And it's like, wow, this is okay. I like the idea of it because they're like, if it's not inside the inside 50 for either team, last touch essentially, like if it's a handball or a kick, goes back the other way. It's fun. It speeds up the game. It's good. Less throw in, less congestion.
Yeah. I hadn't noticed it, to be honest. I hadn't noticed an issue with it. Yeah.
And that's it. There was no real issue until the AFL went, there was an issue and we're fixing it. And you're like, oh, God, here we go. So if you dive to touch the ball after you've, a teammate has handballed or kicked towards the boundary, but you're still showing insufficient intent to keep it inbounds, basically, so you're touching it to make sure that it's a throw in rather than going completely just off your tip, then you're going to get a free kick again.
So, again, it's open to interpretation, which, let's be honest, that's worked really well.
So here we go again. We're just
next there'll be a review.
Opening the door some more.
Actually, that is one that I saw, and I'll just add on to that, was the Geelong game with the reviews.
Yep.
So that and that was an issue. That was going to be an issue because if you start reviewing it, all of a sudden we have a game that looks remarkably like NFL.
Yep.
Where they stop for quite a long time.
Get under
and then start. And every call, and then you end up with a basketball where every call's reviewed and then they're rescinding technical fouls and taking points off team. The reviews are garbage. They've got to stop. It's like they go in and they go, okay, anyone got any ideas? And then young intern pops up and goes, what about we just leave it how it is? Because if it's not broke, don't fix it. And then Andrew Dillon goes, get out.
You're fired.
You make sure he leaves. Get out.
And
now, if I hear anyone talking like that again, you can follow him out the door.
Laura Kane's like, yes, sir. Yes. What he said. Do that.
I think that maybe she said that in a meeting last year, and that's why she got her demotion.
Well, now she's been half promoted again and is in charge of W. So they've at least put someone in charge, I guess, which is smart. But when it's one of your beleaguered executive team, I don't know if that's a great fight.
Yeah,
anyway.
It doesn't fill you with confidence that things are going in the right direction, does it?
Yeah. So anyway, the review thing was an interesting one because it was basically the issue du jour heading into the weekend, right? Because of the miss on Tom Atkins off his foot, essentially out of bounds, goes back the other way. They kick a goal from there as well and go on to win the game. But it sort of petered out kind of over the weekend as other stuff started happening. And it's like one of the hilarious failings of AFL media, I feel, is that we're basically the cat with the red light. It's like, what's that? Oh, God. Reviews. Wait, no, Carlton stink. Essendon stink. Carlton stink. Essendon stink. And like just your head spins. Like, who are we sacking this week? It's like, all right, just everybody can we just watch some footy? Just chill.
Yeah.
Chill. Speaking of which, talk about the footy. Game wraps. Hey, what happened on the weekend? Geelong beat Adelaide 68-60 thanks to Tom Atkins' foot. That wasn't called. And as I was watching that, I'm like, he kicked that. Why is it straight away not being checked? This is weird. And then they sort of mentioned nothing about it on the broadcast. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I think they went back to it and sort of showed it a couple of times. They're like, I think he kicked it out of bounds, Gary. You reckon? Because it came off his foot, you see.
Anyway, definition of a kick. Look, I think
win for the Cats.
Just have to be play it as it lies. Anyway, yes, a win for the Cats. Indeed.
Adelaide were really good.
Yeah,
and this game rocked. Like I was just like sort of going, I would very much like Adelaide to win this game. And I feel like Matthew Nix was feeling roughly the same as well as they come up to his seat in the the coach's box. He's looking very, very stressed. They take the lead in the fourth quarter, and you're like, look out, this is going to be, and the Cats sort of just sneak up, get ahead again, and you have the awesome, every Jack Martin goal is a personal attack for every Carlton. But they did really well, and it was like very fun to watch. Like it was I don't know, like that weird sort of cold, horrible Thursday down in Geelong. But can they win on a cold Thursday in Geelong? That kind of vibe. And the Crows were right there, but just couldn't quite get over the top. And it feel like, this is undermanned, right? No Jordan Dawson, no Robin Laird. And I guess that's kind of the one thing that I took away from this is that Adelaide's midfield is not as good as maybe we thought. Or at least we're hoping. And like when you're missing two of your engine room kind of guys, yeah, that can happen, right? But I think I remember seeing a post about it, and I can't remember what it was, but just like looking at the disposal spread between the two teams and how like I think Adelaide had like no dudes basically. Like I think they had two dudes in the top 10 disposals for the game. And then the actual overall disposally sort of counts and stuff were, pretty crazy. 409 to 329. That's a big disparity, Jez. So I don't know. What was your read on this one?
I thought Adelaide could have, probably should have won, depending on how you want to take the whole out of bounds touch rule thing. But that aside, the injuries hurt them. Probably more so than injuries have hurt any team so far.
Yeah.
Those two you mentioned, Dawson and Laird, I think that they provide so much grunt inside that they would have taken away from how well or how on top Geelong ended up being. Like Bailey Smith ended up having 40 touches.
Whoa.
So, and you wouldn't say he was best on ground. He just accumulated and sort of went about his business, which he hasn't really been able to do in the first couple of rounds. So, if you throw Jordan Dawson in there, Jordan Dawson is one of those midfielders that does defend, probably not as much as a midfielder should. And we all know they don't if they don't have to. But he is a defensive-minded midfielder, having started his career in the back line. And Rory Laird's just a in and under, contested possession sort of thing. And they really miss that, as well as the other guys they've had out. So I still think that a loss here would have hurt Geelong more than the loss has and will hurt Adelaide. I know they're 1 and 2 now, but I think they've got a massive upside with the type of players they've got to come back. And I also don't think they're playing that well either. So there's two big things that they can come back from that. But look, Geelong, I think they're just going to keep scraping by. It's just how they do it, isn't it? They'll probably end up the way they're going if they can still keep scraping by and beating these teams that are down on their luck. And they'll probably end up with 15 wins and make it to the top 6. So,
yeah, I think the weird one for the Crom, they've got like a couple of back-to-back because obviously gather rounds in 2 weeks. They play Freo at home this week as well. But obviously, like Rochelle was awesome in this game. Like he was everywhere. With Sticks Kernahan's haircut, everything. But
the Adelaide do.
Yeah, but the big problem was like Rankin didn't do anything, right? Like it was just watching him sort of just run around with his head, like a chook with his head cut off basically at one point. And what was it? The goal kickers for Adelaide were really, it was like Zach Taylor kicking 3 goals.
Yeah, they didn't, the Thriller, he was MIA, didn't really have an impact. So I guess they're going to be waiting for him to sort of, he hasn't, I think he kicked 3 in the first game.
Yep.
And he was okay against the Dogs, but he hasn't really had that big game that everyone's expecting, I suppose you could say. So I'm just having a look at their goal kickers as we're going through there, and they were, Zach Taylor kicked 3, and then everyone else was singles. So you had Thriller, Rankin kicked 1, Rochelle, Neil Bullen. So, the goal kicking, I mean, look, it was 9 goals 14 to 9 goals 6. So there wasn't a lot of goals kicked on the night, which, and funnily enough, as a low-scoring game, it was still a really good game.
Yeah.
So I guess all the people who are whinging about the high scoring a week ago can all shut up.
Again, this is the cat with the red light. Like it's...
Yeah.
It's a game like this where you're like Tex Walker doesn't play, and Fogarty doesn't do anything, and this is where you go, Adelaide, I can sort of see the cracks. But again, you're on the road, you're in Geelong, it's a Thursday night, you're missing half your team, whatever. Collingwood, 87, GWS, smashed, 54. Wasn't even that close. This was a laugher. Tell us about this one, Jez. I remember watching this going, I'm bitterly disappointed by this Giants team. And that's roughly about all I remember from it.
Yeah, look, I didn't watch it live as I was at something that was equally as
That's
bad
right.
as the Giants, the Wu-Tang Clan concert. But I have watched the mini and read up a fair bit on it, and from all accounts, it was just Nick Dacos.
Well,
Nick Dacos, Nick Dacos, Nick Dacos. So whether that's just the media stroking his endowments or if he genuinely was that good. But looking at the stats, he had 36 and 2 goals too. So that says to me he was probably just having an average night.
I sort of had the it was pretty close. I remember from like up until like around half time because GWS had like a half decent second quarter or whatever, and then the Pies just sort of kept eking out ahead, and then like GWS just couldn't get anything going in attack. Was like my biggest impression from it, and like Houston, like this is obviously at Marvel as well, right? So it's like this weird sort of thing watching Collingwood at Marvel, and you sort of just have this moment of like, all right, good. They were fine. Like they sort of pieced together enough of an attack. As you mentioned, like Dacos kicked a couple of goals. Jelliot popped up at one point late, I think.
Still only kicked the one and only had 4 disposals. So he's well down on his performances of the past couple of what he kicked 40 plus goals the last couple of years, and I think this year he's probably wouldn't have kicked more than one in a game.
Jelliot, I think he got over 60 last, didn't he? It wouldn't have absolutely.
He might have, yeah.
He did. It was massive.
I've got this massive contraption at the click of my fingers. I could tell you that.
They had like, what was it? McStay and Membry were really good early on and kicked a bunch of goals, and they sort of just, rolled with it from there. The other big one was like their debutant, wasn't it? The ruckman. They got him out there from the get go, and he played.
Yeah, Oscar Steen. So yeah, you're right. Elliott did kick 60 last year, which is massive effort for a little fella.
Yep.
In saying that, this year he has got how many? If it says somewhere, not many. He's averaging 5 kicks a game, which is not great from a bloke of his sort of quality, but he'll bounce back, I'm sure. Anzac Day, he'll probably kick 7 against Essendon.
Every time he plays on the G, he's unstoppable. The big one I remember as well, like Pendles obviously came off with Achilles tightness, and with someone who's dealing with Achilles tightness all the time and rehabbing.
Really? You haven't mentioned it?
I've never once mentioned it on any of my shows about how I'm basically a high-performance athlete. Like every time I get out of bed, I'm reminded of it. It is brutal. Like he is 5 games away from the record, I think.
I believe it's Anzac Day.
Yeah, that was
he breaks the record.
But I think they've got the short week too, because I think they turn around and play on Thursday this week. So it's going to be a tough one. But anyway, good win by the Pies. GWS disappointing. Saints, Lions, 80-113 again at Marvel. This was a bit of a weird one because of the jumper clash. I think the squid says, Dad, what is that jumper they're wearing? I'm like, that's like an old Fitzroy one. But
old.
How they got this one through the Vice President of Common Sense makes no sense whatsoever.
No.
So again, I
don't know why they couldn't wear the Fitzroy jumper that we grew up with, the red and blue with the yellow. That doesn't clash with anyone other than maybe the Dogs and probably Gold Coast these days. But pardon me, they're not going to wear that against them. But against, say, Kilda, it would have been an awesome jumper matchup.
But this was a really, really, really good game until like halfway through the fourth quarter. And then the Lions just curb stomped them. Like it was crazy to see. Like the Saints led in this fourth quarter and they end up losing by like 5 goals. It was very much that's Carlton. Couldn't be us. But the Lions led heading into the fourth quarter as well. But I think they'd gotten like there was just nothing
The
going.
Saints were a goal up with about 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
the Saints had sort of dominated the first half. The Lions had sort of wrenched it away in that third quarter. I think they kicked like 6 goals or something in it. Then just went whack right at the end. Goal, 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 bang, bang, bang. And the Saints just looked completely like the Kitty Coleman goal. I think
that
they
set the ball running.
Yeah, they might have just gotten the lead back, and then Kitty Coleman just sort of like bang, powered on one. It was huge, and then there was another couple after that, and they just sort of ran away with it. And they needed to, or else Brisbane would have been 0-3. Have you met my mate Owen? 0-3.
0-3.
It was looking pretty dire. And the Saints, I don't know. Again, how worried can you be? A little bit worried because this is the sort of game that you want to see you get over the line if you're a really changed St Kilda, but feels like kind of same old.
I think, and the thing is too, what we've got to take into account is that if it weren't for the 30 seconds stolen against GWS, they would be 0-3.
Yeah. This is it.
Actually, 0-4. They'd be 0-4. They've played 4 games, so they haven't had a bye yet. So they'd be 0-4. 0-3's older brother. And
awesome.
really, the way they've played, they probably should be. So,
nice.
Interesting.
Anyway, this was a really fun game, and I don't know, Naz was really good again. Sinclair's really good. All the Lions dudes just were fantastic. Like Ashcroft
when they needed to be. Yeah.
Oscar Allen, what is? I'm just. There was a point where I'm like, what does Oscar Allen do? And I think he still got his like. There was the old running joke we used to have Oscar Allen 2+ because he was like basically an absolute moral to kick at least 2 goals for the Eagles each week, and then he just fell off a cliff over the last 18 months. Goes the Lions, got around 2 goals like in this one. You're like, there you go. But
he's back.
Get fraught there. But anyway, good win for the Lions. Just a strange game. Speaking of strange games, Freo 103, Richmond 43. This was tied.
With a minute to go in the first half.
Yeah, and then they went whack. 2 goals because I was at the pub.
On the siren.
That's what I did on Saturday. I was at the pub with the squid.
It's all coming back to me.
Yeah, I just looked like 100% the deadbeat dad just sitting in the bar with the squid. Watch it. Well, I'll have another beer. We'll watch the end of this half. It was like we were sitting next to 2 Freo fans, which was really fun. And they were down. Boom, they get up by 1 goal heading into the half, I think, wasn't it? And then they kicked 2 goals in the last 90 seconds, basically to give them.
So they were a goal behind with 90 seconds to go. Then they just went bang, bang and up by a goal. But yeah.
And then curb stomped them from there. And Richmond, like it's kind of funny because like Richmond play these great halves. Carlton do the same thing. I mean, Richmond, the drop off is pretty dramatic. And it's just like, just a lack of experience. It happens. Taranto kicked a really good goal early. Like all the crazy like weather related stuff going into this. It was a bit sort of dreary early on, but it wasn't too bad overall. And it was like just kind of a good clinical finish by Freo to sort of just run over the top of them by 10 goals, right? So good on them.
Yeah.
One of the great scoring worms I remember seeing it the other day. It's just like flat, 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 and then just like that'll do, Freo. Sarong was fantastic. He popped up for a couple of goals as well. I saw had a really great snag just off an awesome Sean Darcy tap down. I'm like, yes, do that more.
And he was good. Sean Darcy. It was probably a really good game for him, considering that Richmond didn't have a ruckman, which I've made note of it here. Their hit-outs were 57-9 in total. Have a guess which team had 57?
That's crazy.
I think they had 28 and 29, Jackson and Darcy, and I think there was probably 4 players who had 2 for Richmond. So it's a little bit sad, but I thought given that they kicked 13-25, Freo could have won, even with the first half they had. The fact that Richmond were on 33 points at halftime and ended up on 43.
Yeah.
Freo probably could have almost won this by 100 had they kicked straight. So they're so chaotic with the way they play. They're so good and they look good, but there's something about their game plan that just doesn't quite stack up.
Yeah, the
And I
kids.
think that's where they get found out, and where they got found out against Geelong. And I think they're going to get found out by some of these better teams because the talent's there. They've got all the pieces. They just haven't put them together yet.
16 behinds in the second half is a lot. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And then 3 very, very weird games to finish off the round. Essendon 69, North Melbourne 81. Jez.
Well, we can call this one. I've just come up with some names for the cup. We can call it the Bloodsport Cup. We could go with Blood In, Blood Out. There will be blood. I'm not sure that this is really relevant to either of them because they're in their mid 20s. But First Blood, I'm going to leave that one alone. But look, I was out all day on Saturday, so I didn't watch any of these games live, but I did watch the replay of this one just to see what all the fuss was about. And I'm obviously disappointed we lost, but I'm just glad it wasn't another thumping. It did look like it could have been at 3/4 time. But the thing that I was, and it's one thing that I've been annoyed about for the first few rounds is our supposed senior players have barely fired a shot. But I think that this week, even though you could say it was against North, who are just a bit ahead of us in their development, it was good to see the young blokes having a crack and sort of stepping up a little bit. I thought Kako, there was one passage of play where it went from I forget who to May, and then it went down to Kako, and it was just a really good. And then he kicked the goal. It was just a really good flow. It's something that you don't see with Essendon. You normally see this, and we went straight back to doing it. The quick handball, or we'll hold the ball up, let all the defenders go back, then we'll play on. And that happens when the likes of Langford and Parrish and Caldwell, who in the past have been good, but they're just, I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, their Durham's dropped off a cliff. He's been one of our better players for the last couple of years. He was barely sighted. Peter Wright actually popped up and kicked a couple of goals, but again has absolutely zero ticker whatsoever. So, but I was pleasantly surprised with the young and the new players. Blakiston was solid again against a pretty good ruckman, who's going to have a little rest now. So, I think he might have done the helmet up a little bit too tight this week.
Just it's squeezing out his ears.
Mm,
What you did miss at the end, though, was the excitement of like, hang on, what's going on here? Because we had this on. Old mate being an Essendon supporter, she was like half paying attention. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, there.
Yep.
Few more beers in. I've already been at the pub in the afternoon. Oh, yeah, this game's still on. And then it suddenly got very interesting towards the end, and like a couple of North stoppages basically saved the game for them after it was just queuing the rack time. But speaking of embarrassing losses, Port Adelaide 90, West Coast 92. In Adelaide, at home with West Coast. This was another fun story that popped off after we recorded last week. People were getting all up in arms. They're playing at 9:30 local time, Jez. It's like, that's for under 12s, not for grown-ups. Shut up, idiots. Yes, they've travelled east before to play games, the West Coast. This isn't the first time. It was an early start, but still, it did mean we get some beautiful sunshine across the Adelaide Open game. So again, there's a disturbing trend here. I was sitting at the pub watching a lot of this game with the squid before we went to Carlton, Melbourne. And it was really fun because West Coast were awesome. They also sucked for a big chunk of it, but then they came flying out of nowhere to the point where I think he and I were standing in one of the bars again. Here we are. Because they had this other game still playing in one of the bars at the MCG. Watched like the last couple of minutes, and like it was amazing to see West Coast hold on and just like desperately grasping anything that could sort of go their way. And it was an unreal finisher for an Eagles fan. And Port Adelaide, like if Carlton had not have stunk so much, there would be the world's brightest spotlight on the power right now. They are the luckiest team in the world that Carlton, right? Like they're just sitting there going, that's a bullet dodged.
Oh, yeah.
At least there's still Carlton and Essendon. So a crazy game. where Port Adelaide were absolutely flogging them out of the gates, and then the sort of worm just sort of turned, and Port fought back. You thought they'd run over them early in that fourth quarter. We watched a bit of this as well, and they didn't, and the Eagles just held on for grim dear life.
They're back. They are back.
The J train late with that big snag.
Those 4 goals.
It was awesome. So that was a really fun game. And from what I was able to watch of it, because it's sort of as you're traveling over to the G pub, sitting there, chatting with mates, watching this going, what's happening? This is awesome. But yeah, Georgiades, Whitlock, like Jack Whitlock popping up for 3 goals or whatever it was awesome. So yeah, hell of a game. Fun.
I like you, I didn't get to watch pretty much any of this game as Zach, my son, had his first practice match of the year. So we were up at that while this was going on. And I was just following along on the phone, and I was sort of watching his game and the game before his as he was warming up. And I'm like, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And then mind you, I'm watching his game and it was completely the opposite. I think they were 11 goals up at quarter time.
Ooh.
2-0. And I think it ended up being very close to 200 points to maybe 1. So, yeah, it was a pretty big win by the boys in the practice game. So, but yeah, I reckon this is hilarious because Port Adelaide and West Coast. It's just I said it last week after they won. It is when their fans are up and about and they're at home and they're winning. We're going to hate them again very, very soon. So they'll be booing everyone. They'll be throwing stuff and doing whatever the feral West Australians tend to do with too much sunlight. Yeah, I reckon it's great. It's good to see him. Good to see him start to lift off the bottom of the ladder. It's just unfortunate that my team's replacing them there.
First time they won 2 games in a row since 2024. That's
crazy.
Early 2024 as well. That's a long time. Yeah, Port, look, I mean, just without Rosie, it was always going to be a bit of a tough one. Like just trying to negotiate that. Todd Marshall obviously didn't play in this one either, so a bit of a rough one. But
would have been a good game for a former number 1 draft pick to pop up in, but he had. So I actually got a bit curious because I was having a look for my spud of the week, which we're obviously going to get to next, and I wondered because I hadn't heard anything about the Hornet, and I went through and he had about 18 touches, and then I looked at the column that said disposal efficiency. Now there were, I think, 5 players who had a disposal efficiency of 33%. There was only 1 player who was less, and I think he only played about. It was Luke Pedler from Adelaide, had 14%. There were 5 players, and one of those was Jason Horne-Francis. The other 4 had under 10 disposals. So he's got to be an issue for him with the fact that he can't put together a good run of games where he's either solid or in the best. He seems to be able to be unreal one week when it suits them. And then when they actually need him to pop up and do the hard yards, he's, oh, no, I don't like ice bars. Sorry, fellas, I've got to go. My mum's calling me. So, they've got to be worried about him, surely. Like, there's something not quite right there.
There's a nice little runway here for him to go, right, I need to get like 4 or 5 really good games under my belt and just like really stamp myself. This is the time to do it. Like he's been
with Rosie out.
Like a really long time in the system now. Like no excuses. Hey, also no excuses. Carlton 77, Melbourne 100. Moving on. All right. So, no. At this game, and at no point did myself and the Squid ever feel comfortable with whatever lead Carlton had. It was the second quarter was an absolute disaster zone for the Blues, and I'm like, it feels like we're losing this game. But we are still leading by quite a large amount. So, what do we make of this? Well, it's just another Carlton first half. Like, that's it. And, like, you just can't get comfortable. You can't get happy because you just know that the other shoe is going to drop. And that second quarter where they still managed, like, Carlton was still up by, like, 30-something points, right, at that point. Like, 34 points, I think, at the half. And so we'd gone out to this huge lead. It was awesome. ball's pinging round, clearances, marks inside 50. It's all looking great. The pressure. And then we held them to 1-6 in that second quarter, Jez.
Mm.
But the ball stayed in their forward half, basically the entire quarter. And you're like, we don't have control of this at all. And then it's slowly
you get kicked 1 goal to yourselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then after that 1 goal that they kicked in the first half, they kicked another 14 in the second half, and the Blues managed a whopping 4.
Mm.
And still, the Blues were leading with a fair whack of time gone in this fourth quarter. And I had turned to the squid at one point. We were up, I don't know, 20 odd or whatever. I'm like, if we can kick the next goal, we will win this game. Spoiler alert, they did not kick another
No, they
goal
did not.
the rest of the game. And
I think there was a point there where they got back in front. I think it was a Carroll goal.
Yep, the Carroll goal.
Yeah,
it's
Elijah Hollands kicked one, and I think Melbourne. I'm just looking at the timeline, and it was Hollands with about 5 minutes to go, kept his in front, and then Carroll kicked another one, and I thought, okay, they've finally worked out. They've finally worked out how to do it. They're gonna surely they're gonna ice it now, surely, and they did not. And
So
then the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 goals, 7 goals were Melbourne.
It was crazy. And that was it. Like, it was literally, all right, we need 3 goals from here. And so going into that fourth quarter, and we're going to probably win this game. If we can do that, we're going to win. They did not get that third goal the entire last quarter. And I don't know, you could just sort of see the work rate of Melbourne was just that much higher. And like there was Will Hayward right in front of us. There was like a couple of weird moments where he kicked the ball from on the boundary, trying to go around his body from a set shot, and never was far enough away from the man on the mark, and it got smothered. And you're like, Will Hayward.
That just sums it up, doesn't it?
Dude, we can't be doing this. And there was a couple of other ones that set shots that didn't even make it over for a score and all this. And Harry kicked like a really awesome goal right in front of us early on, and then he sort of ballooned one a little bit on the other side, which should have been easy for a left footer. But so there were warning signs there. Jagger was looking amazing early, sort of dropped off. Cripps again was in the guts of it.
He's not right, Cripps?
I think he's fine. I think it feels like a lot of his confidence is shot in his kicking. And so he kicked the goal right in front of us and picking it up just around the body snap because he didn't have time to think about it. And that's probably where he's at his best now, is when he has time to think about it, he cooks it.
I did have this conversation. So one of the guys at work's a big Carlton supporter, and I had this conversation with him earlier today, and I said, is he right? Is he injured? What do you think? He said, no, I don't think he is. I think the thing that people forget is he's 31 now, and his entire career he's been battered and bashed by opposition. He rarely gets a clean possession without having to fight off 2 or 3 blokes. So it could just be, and obviously NFL Straya listeners will understand that, with running backs, for example, their careers is significantly shorter than other positions because of the crash and bash. And you could almost say that he is as close to an AFL version of a running back that you're going to get, probably him and a few others. But the way he attacks the footy and takes on all comers is it's got to have had an effect on him. And the games I've seen, the way he's moving, he doesn't look like he's moving with the with the comfort and fluidity that he has in the past.
Yeah.
So and maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's catching up to him a bit quicker because of the way he's played.
Yep.
So
yeah, I don't know. I think my biggest thing is always going to be Carlton's midfield. Defensively is wildly suspect, and like turnovers absolutely, like they kill all teams, obviously, but their lack of foot speed absolutely burns them each time. Like if they turn it over, they just never get it back. But with Walsh and Smith, look, it's a process. I'm not going to panic. This team kind of stinks. You get that on the big jobs. The worst part is, a crying 7-year-old, because there was a
Which one of you cried first?
It was definitely me, but there was a umpiring, like Francis. I think Francis Evans got taken high in front of us, and they didn't call it, and they got a free kick out the other way, and he just lost it. I'm like, we have a footy fan here. This is awesome. Yeah. This is.
Everyone feels that at some point in their football fandom.
I love it.
I can't breathe.